There's a rumor going around. If you like this video and subscribe, you will learn the fairy law spell. Hi guys, this is the next part of What if Itachi Uchiha was reincarnated in the world of fairy tale. I hope you enjoy. Gray and Juvia helped Daedalus fairy tale battle off Commander Itachi's personal guard. Take those fairies down, a guard shouted as they all charged. Just try it. Gray shouted and slammed his fist into his palm, letting out a cold breeze. Ice make. Lance. Lances made out of ice came flying towards the guards, and then suddenly 3 guards with a red ribbon tied around their right arm stepped in front of the lances while performing hand seals. Fire style. Dragon flame. The 3 guards spat out waves of fire that crashed into the ice lances. How did they do that? I thought people couldn't use magic like that here. Gray questioned in shock. We are Commander Itachi's personal guard. He taught us how to use our chakra. A guard with a yellow bandana wrapped around his arm replied. Gray noticed that each of the guards had a different colored bandana around their arms. Some had red, some had blue, green, yellow, and brown. Those ribbons, do they represent which element they use? Gray thought and narrowed his eyes. Those 3 that used that fire jutsu now had a red ribbon on their arms. That can't be a coincidence. I should wait and see what the others use. Water nebula. Juvia threw a huge ball of water. 3 guards with brown ribbons stepped forward, performing a few hand seals. Earth style. Mud dragon. 3 dragons made out of mud popped up from the ground, crashing into the water wave and absorbed it, holding the water back for a while. One of the guards with a red ribbon made some hand seals. Fire style. Dragon flame. The fire burned through the mud and crashed into the water, creating a lot of steam. In the steam, the Daedalus Fairy Tale Guild recovered their magic weapons, and Edo Lucy swung her magic energy whip at some of the guards from behind, electrocuting them. That proves it. Gray said. Proves what? Gray-sama. Juvia questioned. Yeah, other me. Edo Gray questioned. Each one of those guards have a different ribbon. Those who have red use fire. Those with brown use earth. And I'm guessing those with blue use water. The ones with yellow use lightning, and the ones with green use wind. Gray said, having learned about the 5 jutsu elements from Itachi. That's quite impressive. You're much cooler than this one. Edo Juvia said as Edo Gray felt a little hurt. Juvia-chan, Edo Gray uttered. But how are we supposed to beat them? You guys can use magic like they can, so how do we beat them? Edo Lucy said. How can they even use magic? Edo Natsu questioned, looking afraid. They don't. Gray replied. What do you mean? Edo Elfman questioned. They don't use magic, and neither does this Commander Itachi. They use something called ninjutsu. They use a total different energy from within their bodies instead of what they gather from the outside. It's called chakra. Our Itachi uses it as well. And this energy, from what Itachi told me, is within all of us, but we in Earthland are way too focused on the ether nano. Your Itachi must have taught these morons how to control their chakra. Gray replied. However, what he didn't know was that chakra isn't something they would be able to use. Anyone that doesn't belong to the elemental nations shouldn't have chakra. Since they're not from the elemental nations, they didn't have chakra from birth like Itachi, which is why he's able to use it while his body replenishes the chakra on its own. But why are people from Daedalus able to use it? Or are they even from Daedalus? Wait, there is a different source of power besides magic. How come we have never heard of it? Edo Mira Jane questioned. It's the same for us at Earthland. From what Itachi said to me, only the people of his home village knew how to use it. Gray replied and slammed his fist into his palm once more. However, they're still going down. Ice make. Cannon. Gray formed an ice cannon in his hands and blasted an ice ball, crashing into a bunch of the guards. A guard with a red ribbon and another with a white ribbon leapt up in the air, each having a different hand seal. Fire style. Dragon flame. Wind style. Vacuum blast. The 2 guards combined their attacks into a blazing inferno. Juvia extended her hand, sending a wave of water crashing into the inferno, trying to put it out. Now Gray-sama. Gray leapt above Juvia and glared at the 2 guards while he had his fist in his palm, letting out a cold breeze. Ice make. Lance. Gray sent ice lances crashing right into the 2 guards, knocking them out. Get them. A guard shouted. When suddenly Edo jet punched him down, moving at high speed. He went from guard to guard and knocked several of them out. While Edo Droy knocked out various guards with a magic club and using its magic power to form trees that used its branches to wrap around the guards. Oh yeah, taste this, you punks. Edo Levy blasted various of the guards with a magical machine gun. This is for Max and Warren. Edo Lucy swung her magic whip, slamming into 3 different guards. Lightning style. Lightning Beast Runner. 5 different guards with yellow ribbons sent a thunderous wolf made out of lightning running towards several of the Daedalus Fairy Tail Guild members. But it was blocked by a shield made out of ice that shattered when the lightning beasts crashed into it. Gray appeared and slammed his hands to the ground. Ice make. Geyser. A large wave of ice popped up from the ground and froze a few of the guards in it. Gray panted a little as there were still several guards left to deal with. Damn, this is getting annoying. Gray gritted his teeth as he saw some of the guards grabbing the Daedalus Fairy Tail members and were about to cut them down with their swords. Daedalus or not, they're still Fairy Tail. So, they're my comrades. Let them go. A bunch of normal guards came crashing through a wall behind them, and in leapt Itachi, with a cold narrowed calculative expression. He directed his attention to the black armored guards fighting Gray and Juvia as well as the Daedalus Fairy Tail Guild. The guards in the Daedalus Fairy Tail Guild stared in shock. The Daedalus Fairy Tail had a look of fear until they saw Itachi had 2 normal arms and not a robotic, also his clothing was different. Is that? Edo Lucy questioned. Oh, yeah, that's our Itachi. Gray smirked. That's the Earthland commander. Isn't this bad? A guard questioned. Earthland is different from Daedalus, he might be weaker. Let's get him. Several of the guards charged at him. Hey, they're a bunch of fools. Gray snickered. Itachi glared at the wave of guards charging at him with his eyes narrowed, his Sharingan glowing. However, the guards didn't seem to look him in the eyes. Itachi raised his hand and pointed his finger at them. Give up. Remember the commander wants him alive. A guard shouted. Yes. Several guards swung their blades into Itachi and stabbed him, yet he wasn't the least bit fazed. And then 4 other Itachis appeared, 2 from the walls and 2 others from the floor. They had the guards surrounded. What happened? Clones. Looks like it. But we can play that game too. The guards performed the same hand seals. Shadow clone. They created 2 clones each. Get him. They cut through all the Itachis, but their weapons passed right through them as if they were ghosts. What's going on? Exclamation mark quote. I don't know. This is so frustrating. 5 guards leapt up and performed a set of hand seals. Water style. Water dragon. A guard who had a gourd on his back which contained water, created a massive dragon made out of water that flew towards one of the Itachis. Fire style. Dragon flame. A guard released a wave of fire towards the second Itachi. Wind style. Vacuum blade. The other guard sliced out a blade of wind directed at the third Itachi. Earth style. Mud bullets. Another guard sent a barrage of bullets made out of mud with rocks in them directed at the fourth Itachi. Lightning style. Beast runner. The final guard sent a lightning wolf blitzing towards the fifth Itachi. They all crashed into their targets. When the dust cleared, all the Itachi stood there unharmed, brushing dust off their shoulders simultaneously. Judging by your power and chakra control, you're all at least low Chunin level. The first Itachi spoke. Wait, this must be a genjutsu. A guard said. He got all of us in it. It's like 30 of us plus the clones. Another guard said in shock. When the hell did he do that? A guard questioned. It's all over. All the Itachis turned into a murder of crows which flew towards the guards. As they crashed into them, the guards screamed in pain. The genjutsu was lifted and the crows were now shurikens stuck in either their legs or arms. It may have looked as if he had put all of them under a genjutsu at the same time, but actually he put them in one at a time. However, he made it appear as if each of them were trapped in it together. He got all of them. A guard who was still dealing with the Daedalus fairy tale questioned, seeing as all the guards who went to take care of Itachi was on the ground. Impossible. Another guard shouted. Water slicer. Ice make. Lance. While most of the guards were distracted, Gray and Juvia knocked several of them out. What the? Fire style. Fireball. Itachi blazed out a large ball of fire, taking out the rest of the guards, knocking them out cold. That takes care of that. Itachi performed a few hand seals and slammed his palm into the ground. Summoning. In a puff of smoke arrived a giant crow. Gray, Juvia, get on and help Natsu. Urza and Gajil stop the Lacrima from crashing into Extalia. What about you? Gray questioned. I have something else to take care of. Go now. Itachi ordered. They both nodded and jumped onto the crow. Juvia wrapped her arms around Gray's waist while rubbing her cheek up against his back, while pushing her large chest against his back as well. Take care of me, Gray-sama. Juvia said with a faint blush as Gray surprisingly had a small blush and an uncomfortable expression. Just fly. Gray said to the crow. It took off out of the hole Itachi came through and flew into the sky. You know, if you took off more of those clothes, you might actually look better. Edo Juvia said to Edo Gray. I guess I could take off a jacket and pants. Edo Gray said with a small blush and nervous expression. Never mind. Edo Juvia huffed her head to the side, and Edo Gray sighed in defeat. Edo Juvia however had a small smile as well as a faint blush. Guess you guys like each other no matter what world you're in. Itachi commented. What are you talking about? Edo Juvia shouted. Excuse me. Edo Mira went up to Itachi. Are you by any chance going after the commander you? Yes, I am. Itachi replied, feeling a little disappointed at the fact that this Mira was pretty much the same as his, although she might never have been a bad girl like his Mira. He told me he thinks life is meaningless, considering what he has experienced in his life. And how he lost everything. Edo Mira said, why are you telling me this? Itachi questioned. I thought it might help you in some way to deal with him. Edo Mira replied, it might, but tell me, do you care for him? Itachi asked. I just feel sorry for him, that's all. I was thinking maybe you could help him in some way. Edo Mira replied with a genuine concerned expression. Itachi had a warm smile on his face. Thank you. It feels good to know you care about my happiness in this world as well. Itachi looked towards Lizana. She gave him a nod, understanding that she had to get ready to part ways with her Edalus siblings soon. Although, if what I went through was not enough to make me like him, I doubt he can be saved. Itachi thought, thinking what his alternate self must have gone through was much worse than what happened to him, or at least more traumatizing. Itachi leapt out of the hole in the wall and vanished into the distance. Extalia, Wendy and Charles widened their eyes and shook a little in fear as Commander Itachi smirked with his glowing red Sharingan, which made him look like a demon. The other Exceeds however didn't look worried, thinking their queen would take care of it. Ha, you foolish humans really are attacking? You must be eager to die. An Exceed in a cowboy hat shouted. Commander Itachi's smirk widened. Perhaps I am, so what? Commander Itachi chuckled darkly. Now where is your queen? I've been looking for a challenge. Come on, bring her out, or do I have to start by painting these streets with your blood? What's with him? Doesn't he understand that he's going to die? An Exceed questioned as the other floating island with the giant lacrima began to crash into the edge of Extalia. They're revolting against the Exceeds. They don't know our queen's power. You're gonna learn once and for all. I bet the queen's gonna use her magic any minute now. Still, if she is, I wish she'd counterattack soon. Nothing to be afraid of, the queen will take care of this. Some of the Exceeds began to get a little worried while others kept faith in their queen. The lacrima has collided, Wendy uttered. Not quite, it looks like it stopped at the edge of the island. Charles said. The Exceed in the cowboy hat walked up to Commander Itachi and kicked him in the leg. You filthy humans better beat it before our queen slaughters all of you. No, don't. Wendy shouted, but to no avail. Did ya hear me, you human trash? The Exceed threw a rock at the commander, who easily caught it and crushed it with his normal hand. He then looked down at the little Exceed with a devilish smirk. Hey, what are you? Ow. Stop it. The Exceed cried as Commander Itachi grabbed him by the top of his head and lightly began squeezing. I'm going to say this one more time, bring out your queen. Commander Itachi tightened his grip on the Exceed's head, making the little cat twitch in pain. Or else, I will not only paint these streets with your blood, but I will also spread out pieces of your brain on the floor. Commander Itachi smirked and tightened his grip even more. His grip increased so much that tears began flowing from the Exceed's eyes and his body began shivering in pain. Commander Itachi chuckled darkly and licked around his lips. I thought you Exceeds were supposed to be all-powerful beings. Seems like you're nothing but talk. Hopefully your queen is not all talk. Tell me before I pop your head, do you fear death? Skydragon. Roar. A large whirl of wind crashed into Commander Itachi, making him let go of the Exceed and sending him crashing into a building, reducing it to rubble. It was Wendy, the tiny dragon slayer, that stood bravely with her eyes narrowed. You big bully. All that power, in a tiny little girl like you. Commander Itachi rose up from the rubble and let out a little chuckle. Reminds me of myself when I was at that age. Wendy, don't. This one might be just as powerful as our Itachi. Charles warned with a concerned expression for her best friend. Hey, Earthland me may be just as powerful as me. Now that gets my blood pumping. If the queen turns out to be a bitter disappointment, I will at least get to take him on. Commander Itachi smiled viciously. Now then, little girl, guess you will have to entertain me until the queen or the other me gets here. Commander Itachi began to release a ton of pressure. Wendy's legs were trembling in fear, yet she kept a brave face up. I can't let you hurt them. Is that so? You say that yet you're shaking like a leaf. You're scared, aren't you? Then why not just step aside? These Exceeds threw rocks at you just because you tried to warn them, now why would you sacrifice yourself for them? Commander Itachi questioned. Because they're innocent. Their lives are at stake and they're Charles' people. That's why I will not let you hurt them. Wendy declared. Everyone looked at her in awe, besides the commander. Wendy, Charles uttered. What utter nonsense. Innocent lives. Why does that matter? Didn't matter for my family. Innocent men, women and children, for both my clan and my village all died. Life itself is meaningless, I don't care who I kill. At some point they will all die either a pointless death or a cruel death. Why does it matter if I take those lives earlier? Commander Itachi said with a cold expression, that of a killer and a warrior. Who are you to say they will die a pointless death? Exclamation mark. Or a cruel one? Wendy questioned. A child like you who has never witnessed war couldn't possibly understand. Life is cruel, so why should it matter if people leave it sooner? Commander Itachi said and slowly began walking towards the young dragon slayer. Now then, like I said, until the queen or my other self comes here, I will play with you. The commander chuckled darkly. Enough. A female voice shouted, making everyone turn to the source, seeing a white cat dressed in large robes decorated with something that resembled large Exceed wings, decorated in jewelry. Behind her stood a bunch of elder Exceeds. The queen. An Exceed shouted in joy. It's the queen. Your highness. All the Exceeds bowed for their queen. The only ones who remained standing was Wendy, Charles, a black cat with a long face that kept swinging his paw back and forth, and the commander. The black Exceed went on his knees. Your highness. She's the queen. Wendy questioned. Hey, this will be interesting. Commander Itachi smirked. Wait, let me say something first. The queen said to the commander. I got time, go on. Commander Itachi stopped releasing the pressure. The queen looked at all the Exceeds bowing before her. Please lift your heads, everyone. And please calmly listen to my words. What is the queen doing here? An Exceed questioned. I bet she's gonna use awesome destruction. Shish. Be quiet. Extalia is currently on the verge of annihilation. This may be our inescapable fate. Therefore, I have come to a decision. The queen said. Oh, you're going to destroy the humans. Hey, be quiet and listen. The queen then, to everyone's confusion, began removing her robes. Why, your highness? What are you doing? I have decided that you must be told the truth. I am just an ordinary Exceed. I am neither a queen nor a god. I am an Exceed no different from you. The queen spoke, revealing that she only had one wing. A wing. And no way. I do not have the power to fight the humans. As you can see, I've only one wing. For Exceeds, our magic power is symbolized by our wings, our era. 2 wings signify one's control of true magic power. My magic is very weak. I deeply apologize for hiding the truth from you. The queen said as everyone widened their eyes in shock, while Commander Itachi had an unamused expression on his face. Wendy-san and Charles-san, was it? You have my apologies as well. This is entirely my fault. Please do not think ill of everyone here. What does all this mean? Wendy questioned. No, the blame rests on us elders who created this idea of a queen. We are a very weak race. Humans did many horrible things to us long ago. So, to protect ourselves, we made the humans believe we were powerful. An elder green Exceed spoke. And then, to restore all of the Exceed's confidence, we also convinced everyone in Extalia that she had the power of a god. This divine power was entirely a bluff concocted by us few Exceeds who were privy to the real state of affairs. However, although the humans didn't believe it at first, they gradually came to fear her godlike power. Take, for example, the idea that she chooses which humans should be killed. In truth, it's all a facade. We don't decide which humans should die or have the power to make that happen. All we have is Chagat's ability to see a little into the future. She can see people's deaths. So, we made it seem as if humans had been killed at the queen's behest. You're lying. An Exceed cried. No, our queen is a god. Hurry and beat up those lousy humans. Deceitful nonsense, Charles shouted. Charles, Wendy questioned. Whether you have power or not, you ordered my friends to be killed. That's an undeniable fact, Charles said. Chagat gave no such orders. It must have been the doing of humans exploiting the queens. No. You planted memories in me, controlled my mind, and ordered me to eliminate the dragon slayers. Before I was even born. Charles shouted in anger. The queen uttered. It's not like that. It's actually a really long complicated story. It doesn't matter. It's still inexcusable. Charles, we should set this aside for right now, Wendy said when suddenly the queen drew a sword and threw it in front of Charles. You're absolutely correct. You've done nothing wrong. Yet I've put you through the most pain of all. The queen went on her knees. Why, your highness, I ask that you personally punish me for my crimes. The queen said, more than anyone, you have the right as one who loves both humans and exceeds. Charles picked up the blade as the exceeds cried. This is getting a little interesting. I think I will watch this show a little longer. Commander Itachi thought. Now, everyone, leave this place. I will join Extalia in its ruin. The queen said. Charles, stop, Wendy said as Charles walked up to the queen while holding the sword. I don't want to leave. I'm staying here too, Exceeds cried. No, everyone, this land is doomed, the queen said. Charles raised the sword. Charles, Wendy shouted when suddenly Charles stabbed the blade into the ground right in front of the queen. Don't just give up like that. This is your land, isn't it? Exclamation mark. Do you seriously need a god or a queen to get anything done? You've held on for dear life all this time, even if it means resorting to lies. How can you give up so easily? Exclamation mark. It's okay if you're weak. If you all work together, you can accomplish anything. This land won't be destroyed. It's my homeland, after all. It won't go away, Charles cried. I won't give up. I will stop it. Charles brought out her wings and flied towards the giant lacrima, but was stopped as a kunai graced her wings, and she fell down. Charles, Wendy shouted and went to her friend's side. Commander Itachi let out a maniacal laugh. How funny. All this time the king's been afraid of some boogeyman. Exclamation mark. How amusing. But, did you all seriously think I was going to let anyone escape? You're all going to die here. Skydragon. Wing attack. Wendy gathered whirlwinds around her arms and swung them at the commander. Commander Itachi smirked and formed a few hand seals. Fire style. Fireball. Commander Itachi sent out a massive fireball that absorbed the wind and quickly overpowered Wendy. Wendy widened her eyes in terror. Water style. Water dragon. From a waterfall formed a massive dragon, which crashed into the fireball creating an explosion of steam. Once the steam cleared, it revealed Itachi, who stood in front of Wendy and Charles. Go. Help the others with the lacrima. Right. Charles picked up Wendy and flew towards the lacrima at full speed. Did you not hear me the first time? Commander Itachi threw a kunai that was deflected by the other Itachi. I will not let you harm my friends anymore, Itachi said with his eyes cold and narrowed and his Sharingan glowing. Commander Itachi smirked. Now this is what I've been waiting for. All the exceeds suddenly flew after Charles and Wendy. They all decided to stop the lacrima, leaving the two Itachis in Extalia to stare each other down. He has the same abilities as me, so using genjutsu is out of the question. Even my Tsukuyomi won't work against him. Itachi thought, not taking his eyes of Commander Itachi. His stance is just like mine. There are no openings for me to exploit. And since he has the same abilities as me, using genjutsu isn't the best idea. I bet he's thinking the same thing. Even my Tsukuyomi won't work. Commander Itachi thought and had a smirk creep up on his lips. Now this will be quite the challenge. Itachi began to throw several shuriken at Commander Itachi. Commander Itachi charged head-on and swung his mechanical arm to the side, deflecting the shuriken. The commander then leapt up with his mechanical arm clenching its fist. The arm let out huge bursts of steam. He flew down towards Itachi, who leapt back to dodge. As Commander Itachi's mechanical fist connected with the ground, it left behind a gigantic crater. Itachi immediately performed a few hand seals. Fire style. Phoenix flower. Itachi let out multiple balls of fire in quick succession, while throwing shuriken into them, merging them with the fire as they flew towards Commander Itachi, who also performed his own hand seals. Water style. Liquid bullets. Commander Itachi spat out a barrage of water bullets that crashed into the blazing shuriken, causing steam to be created once again. Out of the steam came Itachi's shuriken flying at Commander Itachi, who bent backwards, dodging them as they flew over him. He spotted the wires attached to the shuriken, grabbed them and pulled his arm back. Out of the steam came Itachi flying towards Commander Itachi with a surprised look on his face. Commander Itachi grabbed Itachi by the throat with his real hand and slammed him to the ground. I know all your moves, and I know when you will use them. There is no way you can trick me because I know how you think. Commander Itachi smirked. Hey, really now? Itachi smiled as he released himself in a fiery explosion. Both Itachi and Commander Itachi appeared at immense speed a few feet away from the explosion. An exploding clone, not bad. Commander Itachi complimented. Likewise, for you to use a shadow clone. Itachi complimented. Seems we really are just about equal. Guess that's enough of the testing. Commander Itachi smirked in excitement. Itachi narrowed his eyes as his Sharingan morphed into Mangekyo Sharingan, and Commander Itachi morphed his eyes into Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. That's not our standard pattern. That looks like Sasuke's. You stole your Sasuke's eyes, didn't you? No, he was already dead when I took them. Commander Itachi replied, as he placed his left arm over his left eye. Besides, now Sasuke can see whatever I see. You're insane. Itachi spoke coldly. The world made me this way. Commander Itachi said equally coldly. They both performed the exact same hand seals and both inhaled their breaths. Fire style. Fireball. They both spewed out massive fireballs. Their fireballs collided with each other, trying to push the other one back. The fire burned intensely as both their fire elements were equally strong, neither showed sign of being pushed back by the other. Both the Itachis then had tears of blood fall from their eyes. Amaterasu. Both the fireballs got covered in black flames that devoured the fireballs and burned them away, as the black flames began burning each other. As the heat from the black flames increased, it began melting buildings in Extalia. As the two Itachis were in this standoff, the giant lacrima vanished, making Commander Itachi look a little confused. Good job, Mistogen, Itachi uttered and went back to focus on the black flames that had begun spreading all around Extalia. This is bad, at this rate I will simply burn the Exceeds home to the ground. Itachi thought, knowing that Commander Itachi would not back down. Suddenly both of the Itachis stopped spreading the black flames any further. They both had the flames die down. If I had kept going, those flames would have eventually reached me. Commander Itachi thought as most of Extalia looked burned. This might end up being the toughest battles I have ever fought in my life. We both know how the other thinks, we are even equal in power. Itachi thought. Suddenly the whole air began to shake and something that resembled a dragon's roar was heard. The king's going to use Dorma Anum. He must really be desperate. Commander Itachi spoke as he saw blue lights in the distance. He's turning the Exceeds into lacrimas. That foolish old man will soon meet his downfall. I have no use for him now that he has nothing that interests me. All of Edalis could burn for all I care. Commander Itachi spoke coldly. Mistogen's father really has gone mad. Itachi said, knowing that Mistogen aka Jalal was the prince of Edalis. Hey, mind telling me what this Dorma Anum is? It's known as Dragon's Knight. No magic can hurt it. It's basically an armor made to look like a dragon. In fact, it's that device's fault from my understanding that almost all magic is gone from this world. But I suppose that Dragon Slayer magic might work on that stupid armor. Commander Itachi said. Seems like you have no problem going against the king. Itachi said. I only worked with him since he provided me with entertaining things, such as the Exceed Queen. I sided with the king thinking she could provide me the challenge of a lifetime. Commander Itachi said. Natsu, Wendy, Gajeel, I trust you to take care of the king. Itachi muttered. Suddenly crashing down came Urza Scarlet and Urza Nightwalker. You're here too. I was sure she killed you. Commander Itachi said emotionlessly at Nightwalker. She didn't have the guts to do it. Nightwalker said as her hair was now shorter. Where is Gray, Lucy and Juvia? Itachi asked his adopted little sister. They are with Edalis Fairy Tail fighting what is left of the royal army. Urza replied and re-equipped into her Heaven's Wheel armor. With all respect, Nightwalker, my fight against my counterpart might be way too intense for you. Maybe you should find a different playground. Commander Itachi smirked mockingly. Hey, don't underestimate me. Nightwalker went all up to the commander's face, glaring at him. She then, to their counterpart's surprise, pulled him in for a passionate kiss. Itachi gasped and paled in slight disgust as he views Urza as his little sister and nothing more. While Urza had a blush and a dumbfounded expression, she turned over to Itachi, her body shaking and her face was red. Oh Oni-chan, are we supposed to be like that? Of course not, Itachi shouted. Of course, Urza questioned in shock. Did you not hear the "not" I added in the end? Itachi questioned with a deadpan expression. Commander Itachi pushed Nightwalker back. I am in no need for a distraction right now, Nightwalker. Now get out of here, and take your counterpart with you. Commander Itachi ordered coldly. But I, Nightwalker spoke. Did you not hear me the first time? Leave before I kill you. Commander Itachi said with a cold expression. Why yes sir, Nightwalker bowed and leapt further into the distance of Extalia, and Urza followed after her. Be careful, Itachi shouted to his little sister. Same to you, Urza shouted back. Now then, where were we? Oh yes, Commander Itachi appeared in front of Itachi and released an inferno of fire. Fire style. Dragon flame. Itachi leapt out from the fire with his leather jacket slightly burned and performed a few hand seals. Fire style. Dragon flame bomb. Itachi let out 3 blazing fire balls that took the shape of dragon heads. Commander Itachi then formed a dark red spectral skeleton around him that swung one of its 4 arms at the flaming dragon heads, deflecting them. Itachi then leapt back while performing more hand seals. Wood style. Wood dragon. A wood dragon rose up from the ground and wrapped around Commander Itachi's Susanoo. Wood style. Now this was unexpected. Commander Itachi spoke and easily broke free from the wood dragon's hold. My wood style pales in comparison to the first Hokage. If anything, I'm lucky I'm around Yamato's level. Itachi thought and performed a new set of hand seals. Guess I should focus on normal elements for now. Itachi formed 5 different magic circles thanks to the X-ball he took earlier. 5 element dragons. 5 dragons flew out from the circle, one made out of fire, another of water, lightning, wind, and mud. Commander Itachi's Susanoo formed a sword and cut down the 5 element dragons. What's the matter? Use your own Susanoo already. Commander Itachi smirked. Itachi closed his eyes as a red spectral aura formed around him. He opened his eyes as a red spectral warrior developed. Commander Itachi smirked as his Susanoo grew flesh as well. Both Susanoo threw a punch at each other, connecting their spectral fists, sending shockwaves that reduced several buildings on Extalia around them to rubble. Commander Itachi leapt back with his Susanoo forming a large belt of Magatamas. Itachi's Susanoo formed the same. They both glared at each other. Yusaka Magatama. They both blasted each other with the Yusaka beads, creating multiple explosions around the floating city of Extalia. Both of their Susanoo grew armor and swung a sword, crashing at each other, sending more shockwaves as the floating island holding Extalia began falling apart bit by bit. This is what I'm talking about. This fight is what I desire the most. Commander Itachi smirked and had his Susanoo swing its sword at Itachi's. He used the Yata mirror on his Susanoo to block Commander Itachi's Tatsuka blade. Once the blade hit the shield, Commander Itachi's Susanoo got hit by the force of its own attack and flew back a few steps. What exactly is it with fighting that excites you? Itachi questioned and threw some Yusaka Magatama beads at Commander Itachi, who merely deflected it with his Yata mirror. It makes me feel alive. Commander Itachi replied as his Susanoo lost its armor and grew legs. Let's go. He can take his Susanoo to a level beyond the armored one. Itachi questioned in shock, as this was the first time he saw a Susanoo with legs. You mean you can't do it? Then how about this? Commander Itachi's Susanoo then grew armor and wings on its back, becoming the perfect Susanoo. This is the ultimate form of the Susanoo. Feast your eyes on this. The giant Susanoo drew its sword with a powerful force, so powerful that it sent massive shockwaves, cutting 3 floating islands in half. This is a quote from ancient Uchiha scripts written by Madara himself. This Susanoo is destruction itself. The perfect Susanoo swung its blade onto Itachi's Susanoo that managed to block it with the Yata mirror, but the pressure made the entire floating island holding Extalia crumble. Itachi fell as he struggled using the Yata mirror to hold off Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo. They then crashed to the ground like a meteorite. The perfect Susanoo stood tall and stomped on Itachi's Susanoo, making it shatter. Once the perfect Susanoo lifted its foot up, it revealed Itachi in a crater all bruised up. Damn, Itachi uttered weakly and clenched his fist, struggling to get back up. Did you know, the Susanoo evolves the more you use it? That's why no normal Mangekyo wielder could ever achieve the perfect Susanoo, because they went blind almost right after having achieved either the armored state or the normal leg state. Commander Itachi said with a smirk and deactivated his Susanoo. He walked up to Itachi and slammed his mechanical arm right into his gut, making Itachi cough up blood. Commander Itachi then kicked Itachi into a rock and walked over to him, grabbing Itachi by the hair with his left hand. That's why you will never beat me, with just your Mangekyo. Commander Itachi headbutted Itachi, making him grunt in pain. Itachi then looked at Commander Itachi with his Mangekyo glowing blood red. Yeah, well, this is no ordinary Mangekyo either. Itachi flared up in the Susanoo glow as he created a spectral humanoid Susanoo that grew legs. I have had years to use the Susanoo, and thanks to the Ethernano my eyes can't go blind. I have never needed this level before, so I never tried to evolve my Susanoo further. But thanks to you, my Sharingan was able to see how one activates a perfect Susanoo. I see how much chakra you flare up around your body and where you focus most of it. Itachi's Susanoo grew a samurai-like armor and wings, turning into the perfect Susanoo. Commander Itachi smirked and began to let out a menacing laughter. Good, good. Commander Itachi reformed his perfect Susanoo. Both the Susanoo stretched out their wings and flew off into the sky. Urza and Nightwalker were both on the ground with their clothing mostly torn as they looked in awe seeing the two Susanoo flying in the night sky dueling. That's the commander's trump card. Oni-chan's Susanoo, Urza uttered in awe. While elsewhere on the battlefield against the royal army everyone widened their eyes in horror with only a few understanding what the two spectral warriors were. Itachi's going all out against his counterpart, isn't he? Gray said. Juvia is amazed. What is that? A guard questioned. While with the king and the dragon slayers. That looks like the thing Itachi uses sometimes, Natsu uttered in awe. No way. He's that powerful, Gajil uttered in awe. Then the other one is Commander Itachi, right? Wendy questioned, all three of them looking beat up, as they faced against the robotic dragon. The commander is going too far. They might destroy the whole city at this rate. The king growled. Itachi and Commander Itachi used their Susanoo to fly, crashing into each other, dueling with their massive spectral blades, sending massive shockwaves that shook the entire area. Itachi used his Susanoo to fly back a bit as a floating island drifted past him. Without warning, it was sliced in two by Commander Itachi, who rushed after Itachi. Itachi formed Yusaka Magatamas around his Susanoo and threw a barrage of them directed at the commander. Commander Itachi responded with forming the Yata mirror, deflecting all of the attacks. They both slashed their massive swords, sending yet another massive shockwave. They both tried to push the other back. Both Itachis gritted their teeth in frustration. Itachi performed hand seals, inhaled his breath, as blood streamed down his eye. Fire style. Inferno Fireball. Itachi blinked into existence a fireball covered in the black flames of Amaterasu. The fireball crashed right into Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo, creating a massive explosion, and the black flames began spreading around the Susanoo's body. Hey! Commander Itachi smirked and had his Susanoo stretch out its body and let out a howl, while releasing a massive dark red energy that blew the flames off his Susanoo. Suddenly Commander Itachi's Susanoo sent some energy flying into the sky. Yusaka Magatama rain. A barrage of Yusaka Magatama beads came raining down from the sky and crashed into Itachi's Susanoo, causing a few cracks, but it also rained down on a few floating islands, reducing them to rubble, and around the capital, creating massive explosions. Itachi immediately focused his chakra on his Susanoo, making the cracks heal. He charged at full speed at Commander Itachi's Susanoo. Itachi's perfect Susanoo slammed its fist into Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo, sending it flying back before blasting it with a barrage of Yusaka Magatama beads. The beads collided with Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo, creating massive explosions, making it look like it was an exploding star. A black cloud of smoke eerily filled the night sky, when suddenly out burst Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo with its Tatsuka blade raised. Itachi quickly reacted and formed the Yata mirror to block the sword, absorbing the impact and reflecting it right back at Commander Itachi's Susanoo. Suddenly at high speed appeared Commander Itachi's perfect Susanoo, behind Itachi's, and sliced its blade across Itachi's Susanoo's back, making the Susanoo let out a howl. Itachi grunted and had his Susanoo kick Commander Itachi's Susanoo in the gut, following up with a slice of its blade across Commander Itachi's Susanoo's chest. Itachi began panting, and so did Commander Itachi. The perfect Susanoo really consumes a lot of chakra. I don't know how much longer I can keep going. Itachi thought. One last attack. Commander Itachi screamed from the top of his lungs. Itachi grunted as both Susanoo stabbed their blades forward and slammed right through the other. Both Susanoo were pierced by the other's blade. Slowly both began to crack until they burst into pieces, leaving two Itachis falling towards the ground. They both fell onto a floating island, and instantly Commander Itachi ran towards Itachi with his mechanical fist raised. He punched Itachi off the edge of the island and leapt after him. They crashed onto another island, but before Commander Itachi could land, Itachi swung his leg to the side, slamming his foot into the falling commander, sending him flying off the new island. Itachi leapt down after him. They finally landed just inside of the royal capital. Both of them were panting and completely drained of chakra. They both glared at each other. It's been a while since I have been pushed this far. Lucky me, I have this. Commander Itachi brought out a food pill of some sort. It's a chakra replenishing pill. I will have all of my chakra back in no time. Commander Itachi placed the pill in his mouth and began to chew it. Once he swallowed it, he could feel the chakra flowing in his body once again. It took a while to make them hear, but in the end I did it. Commander Itachi vanished at a high speed and appeared behind Itachi with a blue sphere forming in his hand. Rasengan. Itachi grunted in pain as he was sent flying into a building. I stole several scrolls from Konoha before I left. In one of them was the fourth jutsu. It took me a long time until I mastered it. Commander Itachi stood over Itachi's bruised up body. Itachi formed a blue sphere in his hand that quickly vanished due to the lack of chakra. Oh, you know it as well. Did you steal a scroll as well? No, but I have watched a certain person use it multiple times. I then practiced for a while in how the form works in the rotation. It took a while. I could only use a weak version of it at first, but when I came to Earthland I trained for several years and was able to perfect it myself. Itachi replied as he was lifted up by the collar by Commander Itachi. Yes, I win this fight. I will remember you as a great opponent. And once I'm finished with you, I will deal with your other friends, kill the king myself, then take a trip to Earthland and fight your entire guild and kill them. Commander Itachi smirked, making Itachi widen his eyes. Then Commander Itachi dropped him and slammed his left fist into Itachi's jaw, sending him flying. Itachi desperately tried to push out more energy. Despite knowing he was out, he kept digging deeper and deeper to get more energy. In him was a blue flare of fire that was his chakra, but next to it was something else, something dark. A tiny black energy hidden deep within him. It flared up. Now, die! Commander Itachi swung his mechanical fist at Itachi, when suddenly Itachi caught it with his right hand. What the? Itachi stood up, his bangs covering his eyes. He then looked up with his pupils not even visible in his eyes as he growled and flared up in a black energy around his body. AAAARRRRRGGGGGHHHHHH. Itachi screamed like a wild beast, and to the commander's surprise ripped the mechanical arm right off him. AAAARRRRRGGGGGHHHH. What is this energy? Commander Itachi questioned and leapt back, performing some hand seals. Fire style. Fireball. Commander Itachi spitted out a massive ball of fire at Itachi, who was glowing with black energy around him that felt demonic. He stretched his arm out at the fireball and slammed it to the side. Commander Itachi quickly formed a Susanoo around him as Itachi charged at him with his fist raised. Itachi punched the Susanoo's ribcage and it shattered. What is this power? AAAAARRRRGGGGHHH. Itachi threw another punch, crashing into Commander Itachi's gut, sending him flying through building after building. Commander Itachi burst out off the rubble in his perfect Susanoo and swung the blade at Itachi, who just let out even more dark aura around him. He dodged the blade and ran up the Susanoo until he was right in front of its head, looking at Commander Itachi, who widened his eyes at the immense speed and super strength Itachi was showing. Itachi punched the perfect Susanoo in the forehead, creating small cracks that kept expanding little by little as the dark aura around Itachi flared up even more. Yusaka Magatama. Commander Itachi sent a barrage of Yusaka Magatama beads at Itachi, who growled like a wild beast. He stretched his arm to the side, gathering a lot of fire and lightning into his hand in the form of a sphere, and blasted it like a wave at the Yusaka Magatama beads, creating a massive explosion. Inside Itachi's body, the black flare began absorbing the blue flare, but the blue flare began resisting and pushing the black flare back. Back on the outside, the black aura around Itachi began to fade. He charged at Commander Itachi with his fist raised, with all of the black aura gathered into it. And his Mangekyo had returned fully visible. Commander Itachi growled and gathered a lot of dark red energy from his Susanoo into his left fist and charged at Itachi. They both widened their eyes. Tsukuyomi. The next moment Itachi was in a dark space that suddenly changed into Konoha, the Uchiha compound to be more precise. He saw a younger version of himself talking to his father. I don't remember this. Is this my counterpart's memory? Using our Tsukuyomi at the same time must have triggered a passageway into our minds. So, I'm seeing his memories and he is seeing mine. Itachi, have you seen Shisui? He wasn't at the meeting today. Fugaku asked his son. No, I haven't. I was just about to go and meet up with him actually. The young Commander Itachi replied. Really? Then we will accompany you. His father insisted as 3 other Uchihas from the police force stood behind him. That's really not necessary, father. Don't argue. There has been suspicion of you and Shisui allying yourself with the enemy. Please, Let us confirm that this is not true. Fugaku begged his son. Itachi knew he couldn't say no, or else they might arrest him here and now. Fine, let's go. Itachi and his father along with the 3 others leapt into the woods and leapt from branch to branch until they reached the cliff to a river. Once they arrived they saw someone on the ground, that someone being Shisui. Shisui. Itachi went to his friend's side seeing as one of his eyes were missing and the other had a kunai stabbed into it, and he had a blade sticking through his gut. Itachi. Shisui uttered. What happened here? Who did this to you? Fugaku questioned angrily with his Sharingan glowing. Danzo. Before Shisui could finish he died and Itachi cried as his Sharingan morphed into Mangekyo. Danzo killed one of our own. One of the Uchiha shouted in anger. Captain. We can't wait on the coup any longer. We must launch it tonight. Another Uchiha shouted in anger. Fugaku narrowed his eyes. Yes, do what you must. Fugaku said and him and the other 3 vanished. No wait. Itachi shouted, he then clenched his fist. Damn. Itachi vanished as well. He arrived outside of the Uchiha compound. If I hurry, I can stop them from doing anything rash. Itachi rushed in when suddenly in a puff of smoke rose the 9-tailed fox. No. They got to Naruto. Itachi widened his eyes in horror as several Uchihas leapt out from behind the walls of the compound armed with weapons and rushing towards the village with the 9 tails. Itachi spotted his father on the top of a building and leapt up to him. Father, stop. Itachi begged. Things went like I predicted, Itachi. There is no turning back, soon the village will surrender to us. Fugaku said and leapt towards the village where multiple explosions were heard and fire began burning through it. Sasuke. Izumi. Itachi rushed into the compound to find his brother and lover. So, his life is what mine would have been if the Uchiha coup d'etat happened. Itachi commented as he watched the entire village burn, the young commander Itachi not finding Sasuke, Izumi or his mother in all this mess. Walking through the village with bodies of Uchiha, Anbu, and normal shinobi alike spread across the village like it was a battlefield. The 9 tails rampaged around the village killing everyone it saw besides Uchihas. Itachi arrived at the outskirt gate of the village where he found the dead body of his mother. No, Sasuke, Sasuke, where are you? Itachi shouted in fear that the worst had happened. He then spotted Izumi holding a crying 8-year-old Sasuke in her arms. Itachi-kun. Izumi shouted. Ni-san. Sasuke shouted in slight relief over the fact that his brother was okay. Itachi ran towards them when suddenly Izumi was stabbed by an Anbu Black Ops member from behind. The Anbu then stabbed his blade right through the young Sasuke. No. Itachi screamed and threw multiple shurikens at the surprised Anbu, stabbing them all over his body. Itachi rushed to his little brother and his lover. He cried when he saw that Izumi was dead and quickly grabbed Sasuke, who was still breathing but holding on to his life. Sasuke. Ni-san, I feel so cold, I can't move, Sasuke uttered weakly as he coughed up blood. Itachi widened his eyes as he saw that with all this trauma Sasuke experienced in one day he had awoken the Mangekyo, probably because of their mother's death. Sasuke, just hold on, I will get you help. Ni-san, why did this happen? Why did father attack the village? I wanted to grow up and become a shinobi just like you. I wanted to make father proud, Sasuke cried. He is proud of you, Sasuke, more than you can imagine. And I am proud of you, so just hold on. Itachi said with a fake warm smile. Ni-san, Sasuke uttered as he closed his eyes for good and his hand dropped to the ground. No, no, no. Itachi cried while holding Sasuke's dead body in his arms, while all that was heard was the 9 tails roar, and all he could feel was the burning heat of the flames around the village. He felt sad, despair, anger, hatred. He reached his hand over Sasuke's right eye. Don't worry, little brother. I will make sure you see the world through my eyes. Itachi plucked out both of Sasuke's eyes. He reached for his own and pulled out first the right one, before replacing it with Sasuke's, then his left one and replaced it with Sasuke's. All he saw for several minutes was darkness. Slowly his eyes' vision began to return bit by bit. He opened his eyes that were bloodshot and that morphed into a Sharingan, then into a black pinwheel with a red star in the center of it. He had awoken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He looked down at his original eyes and crushed them, his attention then awarded to the 9-tailed fox. Itachi's eye cried out blood as he glared at the fox. Amaterasu. The 9-tailed fox suddenly had black flames burning all over it, making it howl in pain. Itachi vanished at high speed until he arrived at the top of the Hokage mansion, where he saw Danzo and the 3rd Hokage Hiruzen standing over his father's corpse. Itachi. Hiruzen questioned as Itachi glared at both of them with hatred and anger. AAAARRRGGGHHHH. Itachi charged at the two elders with his eternal Mangekyu glowing bright blood red. After an intense battle, the third's head was beneath his feet, and Danzo was cut in half after having used up all his stolen Sharingan eyes on his arm from dead Uchihas. Itachi breathed heavily, being exhausted as a dark red aura that was around him faded. He turned around and saw the entire village was burning, with both normal flames and black flames. And the nine-tailed fox laid on the ground being covered in black flames. Itachi was the only survivor of his whole village. He took Izumi and Sasuke's bodies outside of the village gates and buried them. He gave his respects and left. He felt empty. He felt alone. He felt nothing. It was as if he had no meaning of existing. The only times he felt something now was when he was fighting, or having sex with women he met during his travels, which he considered to be distractions. He kept wandering for years as the Fourth Great Ninja War had broken out over control of what remained of the Land of Fire. Itachi had sometimes jumped into random battlefields just to kill anyone that stood in his way and just to feel alive in some way. Through his journeys, he had earned many names such as, the last Uchiha, the last Konoha Shinobi, but one that was used more than others, the next Madara. In reality he was looking for revenge. He wanted to kill anyone that had been in contact with Danzo and shared his ideals, and his final target was a former legendary Sannin Orochimaru. He searched through every single hideout he could find and killed everyone in there, sparing no one. He had finally come over the last hideout in the Hidden Sound. Inside the hideout was several dead bodies, and Itachi was inside some sort of lab, holding a dead man with glasses and silver hair tied into a ponytail by the collar. Akatsuki, huh? So, that's where that snake has hidden himself. In his hand, he held a file containing information Orochimaru has been gathering on all Akatsuki members. Itachi dropped Kabuto's dead corpse and walked out of the hideout. After years of searching, Itachi had found that all the Akatsuki members were together in the Hidden Rain village. He looked over from the top of a skyscraper and saw several chakra signatures, one that was hidden in a secret room with one other while the rest were in the same room. Itachi leapt down from the skyscraper and formed his perfect Susanoo he had achieved during his travels. And then he crashed into the hideout. After a severe and intense battle, Itachi stood with his right arm missing, and panting with multiple bruise marks on his body. So, this is the Akatsuki, impressive. Itachi uttered as in front of him was a red-haired man attached to some machine with several kunai knives stabbed all over his body, and in front of him a blue-haired woman wearing the black robe with red clouds decorated on it, with blood coming out from her ears as she had been killed by a genjutsu. And behind Itachi was the dead body of 6 orange-haired people with the same robes as the blue-haired woman. Most of them were burning with black flames on their bodies. The 6 pains had been defeated. The Preta Path had his face crushed completely, while the others besides the Diva Path were burning in black flames. The Diva Path had the Totsuka blade stabbed through it and got sealed away. He then walked out of the room to find his 5 clones having killed the rest. One of the clones had stabbed the Totsuka blade through a Venus flytrap plant that had one white side and one black side. Forgive me, mother, the black one uttered as he got sealed. Around them was a dead man with long blonde hair that had his head severed from his body completely, as his body had the black robes like all the Akatsuki members. There was a red-haired puppet that had been crushed by the perfect Susanoo when Itachi crashed in, even the core was completely crushed. There was a shark man with a sword that had also been crushed by the perfect Susanoo. A burning pile of black flames were only the traces left. An Akatsuki robe was found in a triple-bladed red scythe. A man with multiple black tentacle-like things sticking out from his body with 5 spots on his upper body blown up. And of course, Orochimaru, who had fled his skin multiple times like the snake he is, but in the end got sealed by the Totsuka blade. Itachi walked out from the hideout when suddenly he felt a new presence, yet a familiar one. He turned around to face a man with an orange whirly mask with one eye hole that had a Sharingan, glaring at him. You have ruined my plans. The man growled. Itachi didn't care what this man had to say. He threw multiple kunai knives at the man, but they all phased right through him. Itachi activated his eternal Mangekyu Sharingan and glared at his new opponent. The battle went on for quite some time and Itachi couldn't even touch the man, but he made sure to avoid getting touched himself. The orange masked man created a whirl, the source being his eye. Out came 2 giant fireballs. Itachi leapt behind a rock and dodged the flames. He then leapt out from behind it and threw a kunai that the orange masked man dodged by warping away in the whirl. I don't have time for this. Thanks to you I have to start from scratch. The man vanished in the whirl himself. Itachi smirked as he vanished in a puff of smoke. The scenery changed into a different dimension filled with what looked like blocks. And out from a whirl came a kunai and the orange-masked man. Damn that Uchiha Itachi, now I have to start my plan all over again. The man growled in anger. Oh, well, I should at least retrieve Nagato's eyes for now. The man sighed. When suddenly a puff of smoke appeared, a cold blade sliced through his neck. Behind him was Itachi holding a katana as he was transformed into the kunai. He used the opportunity when he was behind the rock to make a clone and turn himself into a kunai. And no way, the masked man uttered as his head fell from his body. Itachi picked up the masked man's head and removed the mask as one half on the man's face was damaged and one looked normal. Wait, I recognize you. Oh yes, Obito Uchiha. You should have remained to fight and try to kill me, then you would have survived. Itachi looked at Obito's right eye. So, this is how you transport in and out from here. Itachi plucked Obito's right eye out and threw his head to the side. Itachi then removed his right eye and placed it in a jar with some liquid in it. Just wait a little bit, Sasuke, I will let you see again in a few moments. He placed Obito's eye in his and tried to focus on opening a hole in the dimension. Eventually a portal opened and he jumped through, not caring where he ended up. The very next moment he opened his eyes, he was in a forest. As he looked up and saw a bunch of floating islands. Where am I? Itachi questioned before plucking out Obito's eye from his right eye socket and brought out the jar containing his own right eye and replaced it, and put Obito's right eye in the jar. This will become very useful. Itachi hid the jar with Obito's eye away into his pocket. Back in reality, the two Itachis punched each other in the face and knocked each other down. They both looked up to the sky, not one of them moving. Aren't you getting up? Itachi asked. No, there is no point, I have lost. Commander Itachi uttered with a sad expression. You saw my past, didn't you? And you saw mine, Itachi said, confirming what the commander asked. Seeing what you did in your world made me realize something. It was my own fault that I ended up where I am, not the world's. I lost my mind when I lost Izumi and Sasuke. And I killed them by letting father accompany me to meet Shisui. If I hadn't done that, things would have happened like they were for you, and Sasuke would still be alive, Commander Itachi said. It's amazing how a single turn of events can change the whole future, Itachi said. I'm sorry for everything I have done, I truly am. You're far luckier than me and not a failure. Commander Itachi said with a sad smile. Not true, I failed myself, I let Sasuke go rogue and become a criminal. I am nothing but a failure, Itachi said with a sad smile himself. Well, you succeeded more than I did. Commander Itachi said. Do you still think life is meaningless? Itachi asked. No, only my own life. Commander Itachi replied. It may seem that way, but you can change that. Itachi said. How? Commander Itachi asked. Well, fairy tale saved me. My new friends give me a reason to live and stay with them. You should find someone who's precious to you as well. It might not get rid of your pain, but at least you will have joy in your life again. Itachi replied with a warm smile. Joy? I haven't felt that for years, I think I have forgotten what it feels like. Commander Itachi gave a light chuckle. You haven't? I saw your memories and felt what you felt, I know you still remember joy. And you saw mine and felt what I felt, so you felt what joy is like. Itachi said. Hey, yeah, now I remember, it feels warm, Commander Itachi said. So, what's the deal with you and Nightwalker? Is she a distraction like those girls you had casual sex with? Itachi asked. Yes, but she used me for the same. She felt betrayed when her true love left the kingdom. Commander Itachi replied. You mean Jalal? Itachi asked. Yep. Commander Itachi replied. I arrived here 3 years after he left. Well, he's back now, he's a part of my guild back in Earthland. Itachi said. How much of my memories did you see? Commander Itachi asked. All the way until you arrived in Edalis. Itachi replied. Hey, cause I watched all the way until you went on that 2-year-long journey to find those herbs for your cure. I never had that sickness in my life, strange. Commander Itachi said. I found the last herb here, and now I am fully cured, and today was the first time I fought at full power in a long time. Itachi said. Huh, well, I saw this girl you met in Earthland. Mira Jane. Is she your girlfriend? Commander Itachi asked. I wouldn't say she and I are together yet, but we have been on one date. Itachi replied. Why do you ask? Well, I met Edalis her and she reminded me of Izumi, brought up a lot of old feelings. Commander Itachi replied. So, you're in love with her? Itachi questioned. I have no idea, Commander Itachi replied as they could feel the ground shake from the battle between King Faust and the three dragon slayers. Can you stand? Itachi asked. Yeah, good, because I can't, Itachi said with a deadpan expression. Hang on. Commander Itachi sat up and gave Itachi a chakra replenishing pill. By the way, that black aura, what was that? I'm not sure. I'm starting to suspect it has some reason to do with why I was brought back to life. Maybe this has something to do with why I can use all those elements. I will need to look into it more. By the way, when I first saw you arrive in what I assume is Earthland, I saw a young man with black hair wearing some black outfit, and a blonde-haired woman with a big bust, and then I saw a bright light. I couldn't make out more than that, Commander Itachi said. Wait, the first thing I remember is waking up in the ocean, Itachi said, looking a little confused as he sat up. Yeah, well, after the bright light I saw the same thing in your memory, Commander Itachi said. He then began to chuckle. What's so funny? Seeing how Nightwalker kissed me must have made you sick considering your relationship to your Urza. Commander Itachi chuckled even more. That would explain the reaction. Oh, shut up. Itachi stood up and so did the commander. You know what I'm thinking? Itachi asked as he spotted the top of Dorma Anim's head. Oh yeah, Commander Itachi replied with a smirk. They walked through the capital when they spotted the battle between Daedalus Fairy Tail and the royal army. Suddenly Edo Mira tripped and Lizana and Edo Elfman rushed to her side. Then one of the guards blasted them with a magic cannon. They all closed their eyes when in front of them stood Itachi, who deflected the shot. Thanks, Itachi, Lizana said when suddenly they saw he was missing his right arm. Wait, you are, Edo Mira uttered. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to repay me by being my sex toy, Commander Itachi said with a smile and then turned around and glared at the guards. Stand down. King Faust will fall. It's over. We've lost. The guards stepped back a little but didn't look like they were going to quit fighting. Alright then, if you don't wish to die by my hand, then stand down, Commander Itachi shouted, and they all backed away and went on their knees, dropping their weapons. Let's go, Itachi said, and Commander Itachi nodded as they ran away. In the battle of the three Dragon Slayer and King Faust, who had Dorma Anim, the Dragon Slayers were beaten up, exhausted, and Natsu had decided to try one last attack. Know your place, you lowly filth. The Dorma Anim's eyes glowed and the ground beneath Natsu exploded, making him fly into the sky. Whom do you take me for? King Faust shouted when suddenly an alarm rang inside the Dorma Anim. What? He looked up in the sky and saw Gajiel with his arm now an iron club. Ain't no need to team up. When it comes to strength and wishes, all that matters is that they get through. Gajiel slammed the iron club right through the Dorma Anim's foot and several iron clubs popped up from the ground around them. My foot. King Faust screamed. I blocked you. Now you can't take to the sky, Gajiel said. Darn you. Faust cursed as he tried to make the Dorma Anim break free. Go, Salamander, Gajiel shouted. Foolish brats. Dorma Anim was about to blast them with an attack, when two slice sounds were heard, and behind the Dorma Anim were two perfect Susanoo that quickly faded as the two Itachis fell towards the ground. Now, Natsu, Itachi shouted. Finish this old fart, Commander Itachi shouted as Dorma Anim had a deep X-cut mark across its body. See, Commander, you traitor, Faust shouted as Commander Itachi smirked. Wendy, roar at me, Natsu shouted. Huh, stand up, Natsu shouted. Yes. Wendy focused her remaining power. Skydragon. Roar. Wendy blew a whirl of wind at Natsu, sending him flying towards the Dorma Anim. Is this fantasy? King Faust questioned in awe as Natsu covered his entire body in flames and flew like a rocket towards the Dorma Anim. Fire Dragon. Sword Horn. Natsu flew crashing through the X mark on the Dorma Anim left by the two Itachis, dragging out King Faust with him as the Dorma Anim exploded. The king then passed out when he looked at Natsu, Gajiel and Wendy, seeing images of dragons instead. Natsu began laughing and cheering. We beat the king. What's this called again? Oh, checkmate. That's what you say before you defeat the king, Wendy said. Gajiel let out his famous chuckle. Idiot. Look, Itachi said, and everyone looked as all the floating islands fell to the ground. The magic power holding them up is vanishing, Commander Itachi said as several yellow lights vanished into the sky. So, it's all going away then, Itachi said. Mistogen, looks like you did it. Question is, are you going to follow the rest of your plan? Itachi thought. But that means, Daedalus will lose all their magic forever, Natsu said. Hey, I have a question, other me, Itachi said. HN. How were you able to teach those soldiers of yours ninjutsu? And how come everyone here has chakra? Itachi questioned. You noticed, huh? Commander Itachi looked at the magic power vanishing. Remember how I got here? When that rift I opened in the dimensions to come here, that dimension I was in that's known as the Kamui dimension had a ton of chakra. When I opened up that rift the chakra came with me. It merged with the people of this world. They all have it, they just don't know it. And since chakra replenishes itself over time, they have that in their bodies forever now. So, ever thought about teaching ninjutsu to the people of Edolis? Itachi asked. No. That is until now. We'll wait and see, I guess. Commander Itachi replied. Let's return down to the city. Wendy said. Why? Natsu questioned. I'm worried about the citizens. We might be able to help somehow. Wendy said. Yeah, this world's me might know something too. Gajeel said. Alright. Itachi 1 and Itachi 2, are you guys coming? Natsu asked. Who are you calling Itachi 2? Commander Itachi questioned with a thick mark. We will stay here for a bit. Go on, you guys. Itachi replied. Hey shrimp. Commander Itachi shouted at Wendy. She turned around slowly to look at him. I'm sorry for everything. Wendy smiled at him. It's okay. I forgive you. Wendy smiled innocently and the 3 dragon slayers ran off. So, what is Prince Jalal trying to do? Commander Itachi questioned. He's removing all the magic power and is going to pose as a villain and let a new leader he trusts lead the people to a better future without magic. Itachi replied. Huh, I see. I hope he finds a different way. Commander Itachi went to the edge and looked down, seeing people panicking and Edolis fairy tale helping the people. I have to go and find someone. Itachi stood up and walked away. Who? Commander Itachi questioned. Someone who's been away from home too long. Itachi replied and rushed to find Lizana. As they ran down the staircase they saw Natsu posing as a demon king as him. Gajeel and Wendy pretended to attack the town. Looks like Mistogen doesn't have to pose as a villain anymore. Is that Prince Jalal facing off against that pink-haired dragon slayer? Commander Itachi questioned. Yep. Natsu wants to make him look like a hero. My guess is that they're planning on our return back to Earthland. Itachi said. Then I guess we will soon say goodbye. Commander Itachi said with a smile. It's been an honor to fight and meet you. Same for me. Itachi smiled back at him. They walked down into town where everyone watched Mistogen fight against Natsu, and Natsu pretending to lose. Itachi spotted Lizana with Edo Mira Jane and Edo Elfman. Hey there. Oh, hey, Lizana said as the people began cheering for their prince to beat Natsu. As Natsu and Mistogen spoke the conditions for leaving Fairy Tail, and then Natsu fell. Hey, thanks. Mira thanked Commander Itachi with a kind smile. You're welcome, I guess. Commander Itachi said. Then suddenly Natsu, Gajeel, Wendy, Itachi, and Lizana began glowing, as well as many others who had magic power in them. Looks like we're going home, the anima is pulling us in. Itachi said as he began to float. While Lizana began to float as well, but her hand was grabbed by Edo Mira. It's okay. We've always known, Edo Mira said as she and Edo Elfman had a sad smile in their faces. Huh? Lizana questioned in confusion as tears ran down her eyes. Edo Elfman then connected Lizana's forehead with his. We knew, but we could never say anything. We're sorry. Edo Mira then hugged Lizana as well. You're a nice girl, just like the late Lizana was. So, you can't keep your real brother and sister sad anymore. Mira nay, Elf Nichan. Lizana cried as Itachi held her other hand. Return to your world, Lizana. Give the Earthland us our regards. Edo Mira let her go as she and Itachi floated into the sky. While Itachi and his other self didn't exchange words, only a smile. Before the light cleared, Itachi saw Mistogen raising his staff as the people cheered, and he noticed Mistogen looking at him from the corner of his eye. Farewell, old friend. Thank you for everything. Itachi smiled. Once the light cleared, Itachi and Lizana were back in Earthland where the rain was still falling just like when Itachi left. We're back. Itachi looked at Lizana, who was still crying. Come on. Let's go find the others and take you back home. She looked at him with a smile as the tears still fell from her eyes. Yeah, halt. They heard a mighty voice shout and spotted a tiny version of Panther Lily. Itachi, who is that suspicious looking person? How rude, I'm not suspicious looking. Lizana said, feeling a little offended. She's a good friend of mine, long story. Itachi said and decided to explain everything to the Exceed. Oh, I see. How strange. Anyway, the others are over there saying goodbye to the other Exceeds. Panther Lily pointed and walked in that direction. Follow me. It's kind of weird seeing you all tiny. Itachi commented. Where is my cat? They could hear Gajeel shout. I'm here, Lily shouted as they all turned to him. Tiny. They all said in unison. You're so small. Happy commented. Are you not worried about your current appearance? Charles asked. Not at the moment. I wish to join the guild that took in my young prince. Will you let me join like you promised, Gajeel? Panther Lily asked. Gee, of course, buddy. Gajeel went up and hugged his new cat partner while crying. Looks like having a cat is some sort of dragon slayer code. Lizana walked out with a chuckle, making everyone who knew about her freeze in shock, while Juvia and Gajeel looked a little confused. And then Itachi walked out standing next to her. Lizana. Natsu questioned. No way, is that? Gray said in disbelief. Lizana. Urza questioned in shock. How? Happy questioned. She's our Lizana, in case you're wondering. Itachi said. What? Urza questioned when suddenly Lizana ran up and hugged Natsu. Natsu. I finally found you. Lizana cried. The real you. She then went over to hug Happy. Happy. It's me, Lizana. She then turned to Gray and Urza. It's good to see you two again too. Wow. This takes me back. She then looked over to Wendy, Charles and Lucy. Oh, are they new guild members? A little Wendy and, oh, are you Lucy? Hold on, you're serious? Gray questioned looking at Itachi and Lizana. Yep, Itachi replied, while everyone was shocked. Happy and Natsu jumped up in the air cheering. She came back to life. Natsu cheered. Yay. Hold on, Urza said. She can't be our Lizana, she died 2 years ago. Urza said. Well, she was never dead. Itachi said. What? Urza questioned in shock. You see, the day she died, an anima had arrived and taken her with it. The way Mira described to me how her body just vanished sounded fishy to me, so I went to see Mistogen and asked him if he had anything to say about it. He said that it sounded like anima and that Lizana might have ended up in Edalis. And before you ask, I didn't tell anyone because there was no absolute guarantee it was true. So, in order not to get your hopes up, I kept quiet about it until I went to Edalis myself and checked. Itachi said, and then was about to drop another bomb. I was actually planning on letting the sickness kill me once we retrieved her. But while I was in Edalis I found the last herb, so now I'm cured. What? Exclamation mark. You're cured. That's wonderful. Urza hugged Itachi. Wait, you plan to die? Urza now began the scolding. Focus on the fact that Lizana is back and I'm cured instead. Itachi said with a deadpan expression as Urza hit him directly in the cheek, leaving a red mark of her fist. But, when we got to the Edalis Fairy Tale Guild, why didn't you tell us? Natsu questioned. I couldn't. Edalis, Mirane and Elf Nichin were so happy to see me again, I couldn't stand seeing them going through that sadness again. And since Edalis Lizana was already dead, I pretended to be her. Lizana said while tears formed in her eyes. Well, we shouldn't keep your real brother and sister waiting. Let's go, Itachi said with a warm smile. Yeah, come on everyone, Urza said, and they all went towards the Cardia Cathedral graveyard. As they got closer and closer, Lizana began to run faster, and when she saw her siblings standing over her grave. Mirane, Mirane, Elf Nichin, she shouted, and the two elder siblings slowly turned around with shocked expressions. Lizana then ran towards them as her elder siblings began to cry. It can't be, Mira cried, and so did Elfman. Lizana, Mira uttered as Lizana jumped into her arms. I'm back, Lizana said with tears running down her eyes as well. Elfman then bent down and joined in on the hug. Welcome home, Mira said with tears still running down her eyes. She then looked over behind Lizana to see Urza, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Juvia, Wendy, Happy, Charles, Gajeel, a new black cat, and Itachi, who all looked at them with a smile. She looked at Itachi, who smiled before walking away. Thank you, everyone, Itachi, Mira thought as she now only concentrated on hugging her little sister who had finally returned. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The next episode will be out soon.